All right, welcome back to Better Odds Sports Betting. I'm your host, Kiev O'Neill.
And this is Kyle Hunter.
And we have a guest today, Mr. Sean Higgs, a longtime sports bettor, handicapper, and he is the man behind winningfreepicks.com. You can follow him on Twitter at RealHiggs. How's it going on this wonderful Friday afternoon, Sean?
Listen, I love day action, and with college basketball tournament time, I mean, this is, come on. The middle of this week, I guess Wednesday it really kind of started, and then all the next week. This is like Christmas for us adults, isn't it? Conference tournament time. I know everybody loves that Thursday. Well, now Friday, Saturday, but that first Thursday, Friday of college hoops for the tournament's great. But give me conference tournament basketball all day long and twice on a Friday like this. So, yeah, good time for us bettors.
The madness has started, and March Madness starts right with the conference tournaments for me, so I'm sure Kyle shares the same sentiments here, but really excited for that. And why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, okay. So I know I've known Kyle. I've been on sites with him for probably at least a decade, a minimum. But I've been on sites going back to 04, 05. I started on the sites, and I was doing another show. I was telling somebody, I said, it started simple enough where, as a bettor, I always bet, and I knew a guy who owned sites, and I started writing him a little bit and saying, hey, I already was doing work on a Wednesday for NFL on Sundays. Why not get some extra income? There's no legal betting here in Jersey. It was nice to do. Why not? And here I am. What's it, 16 years later?
Yeah.
Still grinding it out, still doing my thing. So, hey, you win, you lose, you make some friends, you make some enemies. People like it. They don't like it. I don't mind. I mean, I enjoy it. I'm out here for the people. I say, listen, I'm going to be in Vegas this day. I'm in AC at the Fan Cave. Come see me. Wherever you want to go. I'm a real person. And doing this, there's a lot of jokers out here. You got a lot of real guys, but then there's you got a whole swath of fakes that I can't take on the Twitter world. It's crazy.
Yeah, and you completely have to ignore that. And, it's hard, but unfortunately, people do go to Twitter just a ton, and it's a necessary evil in a way. I do get my information from a lot of people from Twitter. People used to have to wait for newspapers 20 years ago. No, it's it happens the minute it happens. And so you got to be on top of it because you can get an edge if you can get that before the line makes an adjustment. And sometimes when injuries pop up, that'll happen every once in a while. It's some books are slower than others too, so you get to learn a little bit about that.
Yep.
But Sean, I've been following you for a while, so you're no stranger to me, my man. And I'm really excited to start this show off with you guys. And we have a lot to talk about here. And we have a listener request from one of the guys that we know really well, Mr. Adam Burke from ATS.io and Bang the Book here. And he wanted us to touch on 3 games. And I looked at it. Seattle versus Cal Baptist is the first one, and I saw the spread at -3.5, and the total is 148.5. Both teams should be motivated here in the WAC. They're ranked pretty close to each other on Bart Torvik. I think one's 206 and one's 211, right? Seattle's got the better defense, I believe, and Cal Baptist has the better offense. One thing I'll say is that Seattle has not been great away from home. Okay. They give up about 0.03 of a point per possession on the road compared to what they do in general at home. And you can find some of that information on Haslametrics. They only average 66 points per game on the road. And it's not like their road schedule is that hard. I think they played 2 Pac-12 teams in like Cal and like UCLA or something. So it shouldn't be that much of a difference. 75 points per game at home, 66 on the road. So you can tell that. And I think the line slightly might have adjusted for that. How much home court are they giving them? I don't know. But 3.5 is a little bit low for Adam. So I'll tell you right now, Adam, I do have a lean to Cal Baptist here at the 3.5. I haven't played it yet, but something I'll consider. Kyle, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Adam, a friend of ours, and I think he might have been kind of joking with some of these, but some of them have been serious as well. Hey, it gives us some games to talk about. I think the Warner Pacific one, I was actually just looking at, as you're talking, I'm looking up Warner Pacific to see what their nickname was. I like to find all these. It's the Knights. It's nothing really exciting. So,
aren't they a high school team, Warner Pacific?
Yeah, they probably are close to that at least. But,
well, I didn't see any lines on this game, so I set the line Montana -90 with a total of 91. So, you know,
I'll take the over.
My recommendation to Adam right here is to bet the money line on Warner Pacific. It's going to be like plus 1 million. And, you know, obviously if you win this one, you can thank me, but if you happen to lose it, you know, just forget you know me. So, you know, one of those locations where, I'm not too familiar with out there, but, yeah, this is these games that were, you know, not Division I games were popping up all over the country all year long. So it's kind of funny you brought that up, but I expect Montana to probably win by easily double digits, you know, for what I know.
Yeah. And as far as the Cal Baptist game, you know, a game that does actually have a line that we can talk about a little bit. Cal Baptist, they haven't really played anybody in a while. They played Vanguard this past weekend, which, you know, Vanguard's really most people
deodorant.
Vanguard
Isn't Vanguard a deodorant?
I was going to say, I think of Vanguard as a mutual fund.
That's what I was saying, mutual fund.
So did they play some kind of investment company? You know, but Cal Baptist hasn't exactly tested themselves lately. You know, the last team they played was any real team. Although to be fair, they only beat Vanguard by 13. So hey, we shouldn't bust on Vanguard too much. But this is a game where I wouldn't want to be involved. Cal Baptist in Seattle. You know, Seattle to me, a team that, like you said, looks like a fade on the road. They've had some good unders on the road as well. They're an inconsistent team as far as tempo, and I don't like teams that are inconsistent. I want to know what I'm going to get from them, and I don't think I do. And as far as Cal Baptist laying points, you know, I'm not excited to lay too many points here, so I have to pass on this game.
Yeah, tough pass on that one, Kyle. Sean, anything?
Yeah, you know what? Right before we came on, I said, you know, I had Cal here at -5. I thought, you know, they should be favored here, and then the line's 4.5 down to 3.5. I'm actually going to look, you know, as Kyle mentioned, a 13-point win over Vanguard. Or just talk about Montana should probably win that one by 25. But props to them for even putting the team on just to kind of get your players just reps going before tournament time for their conference tournament. But I'm actually going to lean on Seattle here. They're off at least playing Grand Canyon, which was the team Cal played before they played Vanguard. But, you know, I just don't like the line move down. You know, even I could have a line and sometimes it's where it should be. Other times the line goes up or down. So in this spot, listen, the people betting on Seattle here in this Cal Baptist game, they're not average kind of clown guys just coming in like putting their $10 on. It's not the average Joe betting those kind of games. So I'm going to trust those people. Probably know numbers a little bit better than I know this number out in the whack. So I'll lean on Seattle here as a dog. Probably sprinkle some money line on them.
You know, I did come back with Grand Canyon that second game, and Grand Canyon, I did notice a trend on them that every time they go out, they've been really losing the first game, and then they've been destroying them the second time. So I did win on that angle, but just the fact that they beat Grand Canyon tells me that they're pretty good. I mean, and they might be better than they were when they started off. So, like I said, I'm not going to touch it at 3.5. It's just lean for me. You have the opposite lean, all good to go. The only other one that he mentioned, Adam mentioned, Delaware State versus Morgan State -11, total at 154. Yeah. Now Delaware State's like ranked below the Ivy League teams that haven't even played. So it's 353 or something on the Ken Poms and Torviks. You know, I think that Adam brought this up though because they just played in Morgan State. I think they only won by 5 points or something like that. So it was really close. And I'm like, maybe Adam's thinking of an angle here, but I'm thinking that, you know, if you look at Delaware State, they haven't won a game in the Division I. They haven't won at all. They've only beaten the lower division teams. So Division II, Division III, right? The ones that you can't even find the lines, like the Warner Highs. So maybe they're motivated here. So nothing. I'm going to get involved. Both teams do rank top 31 in tempo, though. Then that's more Kyle's alley.
Mr. Total, Kyle.
If I was betting this one, I would bet the over. I can't bet for these two teams to play defense. What's the live number here? Like 156 and a half. So lean to the over. Can't take an under with these two teams, especially at the end of the year. You kind of wonder how much they care at this point. You know, they don't have that much to play for. You know, maybe Delaware State wants to win a game. Morgan State's tempo is very quick. I don't have any strong opinion on this game. I see, honestly, we got quite a few requests here for games today, guys. So let me throw out a couple more if that's all right here.
I was going to say, I think Morgan State, I'd lay it. I think they're winning this by 20. They're the better team, I think. Delaware's that bad.
Okay.
You know, yeah, I mean,
they're not. On these.
Yeah, I'll disagree. I listen. I like to. I'm a opposite kind of guy anyway. But I know. I just think. I mean, Morgan State's I think won a few games. If I'm correct on them, I don't.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'll lay it. Yeah, I'll lay the number. I think they're double digit. Maybe let's 17 points. Let's go. Let's go, Morgan State. Make me look good today. First day on the show here.
Well, look at that. Adam's got, besides the money line on Warner Pacific, we have a play here. So great stuff for Adam. We'll hear from him tomorrow probably. Kyle, why don't you go ahead on some of your requests?
Yeah, I want to. We had several people ask some things, and I want to at least get to one game from each of these guys. So, Hoopheads on Twitter sent us a message and asked us to ask it. By the way, that's a cool nickname. So,
Hoopheads.
Hoop.
Oh, Hoopheads. I think you said Hoopheads. I'm
Both of them would
something
be
like my
fun.
kids are doing.
That's what I was like, where did you find this guy?
No, yeah. But Hoopheads on Twitter, a good time of the year to be a hoophead, definitely in March Madness. But he asked about UC Irvine and Long Beach State. This is a game I have a bit more of an opinion on. I'll say that I like UC Irvine in this game. I think Long Beach State has had so many troubles with the COVID pauses and guys play one game, don't play the next game. Irvine is that team in that conference that is really consistent. They're very good defense. They're okay on offense. Long Beach is bad both offensively and defensively. I like laying the points here with UC Irvine, a team that I feel like I can trust this time of the season.
And Sean, anything on UC Irvine? I haven't really played many of their games.
Yeah, I guess I would lean Irvine here. I mean, the line's under 10. I thought this would probably be like a 10.5, 11, and I'm seeing some 8.5s out there, 9. So number-wise, I take Irvine. And listen, I used to like Long Beach State like 7-8 years ago. They were pretty good. They go on these crazy road trips and just play every kind of top power school. But as of late, they haven't gotten again those kind of recruits to even build off losses like that. So, Irvine would be my lean here, minus the number.
They did hang with Hawaii a little bit away. I mean, they only lost by 2 and 3. It's not like Hawaii's great or anything. Irvine's much better than both these teams. But one thing about Long Beach State is they play so fast that they lose fast. They give the other team extra possessions to beat them by more. So I lean with you, Sean, on this one. Any others, Kyle?
Yeah, I mean, we got several others. So Moorhead in Eastern Kentucky, an interesting game here for tonight. That's from Hokie Mania. He gave us some thoughts on the last show we did as well. So appreciate him always tuning in. For this game, Moorhead in Eastern Kentucky, I am curious to see what your guys' thoughts are on this one. The total is set really high here for a neutral site game, 144. Eastern Kentucky plays really fast. They want to press, force as many turnovers as they can. But last night in their game against Austin Peay, the tempo was a bit slower. It was one that went pretty far under the total. If I was going to bet Moorhead in Eastern Kentucky, I'd bet the under here. And I don't love betting Eastern Kentucky unders because of their pace, but they're not that good on offense. And Moorhead wants to play slowly, and they have one of the best defenses there, probably the best defense in that conference. Moorhead is the second best team in that conference to Belmont in the regular season. They finished the year by beating Belmont. I don't think Eastern Kentucky is going to score easily against them. Now, as far as the side, I don't know that I have any real strong opinions. So hopefully you guys have something on Eastern Kentucky, Moorhead, minus 1.5, 144, the current line. I'm going to lean to the under here. Just thinking that's a pretty high total for a neutral site game. If you lose, you go home.
I'll agree with you, Kyle. I mean, for the under for sure. From a side perspective, Moorhead State is my lean. And when it comes to backdrops that you're not used to, if you're playing on neutral sites, I always look towards the defensive team, and that's what Moorhead State does. They slow down the pace, and then, they can just gather their shot a lot better than teams that play a little bit faster, such as Eastern Kentucky. I mean, we're talking about a complete pace war here between these two teams. So definitely lean to the under, and I'm going to lean to Moorhead State to win it outright.
All right. So I'll agree and disagree. No, actually, yeah. So I'm with the under. I kind of like the under here because, as Kyle said, these best defense in the OVC, like 63 points a game for Moorhead, and you got the best offense at 83 points a game. I think they're top 2 or 3, maybe 4 in KenPom offensive for EKU. So I'll think under, but I also like Eastern Kentucky. We saw them kind of pull out a grinder last night. I had them last night against the P, And Austin Peay, this was a team that was projected to be the top dogs in the OVC. Didn't get there, obviously, as like at the 6th seed. So I think they could play a kind of grind them out game, but offensively, I think they're a little better. And Moorhead, isn't on that level offensively. I mean, I think easy buckets translate. They force turnovers and stuff. So listen, the defense isn't on Moorhead's level. I mean, what is when you're giving up 60-something points a game? But I'll take Eastern here, and I'll definitely side with the under because I think it'll be not an EKU pace up in the 80s for sure. So under, but I'll take Eastern Kentucky.
Well,
all right.
Okay, one more point before we go on to Kiev. These two teams are rivals. They're pretty close to each other, Moorhead State and Eastern Kentucky. Not terribly far from where I am in Ohio, but these are two teams that really don't like each other. They played twice in the regular season. Both games went under this total in the regular season. Now the game means even more. I have to bet some money on this under. As I think about this one, I have to at least play this personally for under 144. If they beat it and shoot really well, then they beat it. But, neutral site game, that means a lot between two rivals. I think this is a pretty high total. The other thing is, Sean, you said you had Eastern Kentucky last night. Did you see the end of that game? Were you watching that one on?
No, I try not to watch because I'd be out of TVs in a hurry. So I usually don't watch. Right. I try not. You know what it is? You see some people just watch and, you'll see like the slides with every bucket and stuff. I can't. I'll have. Yeah. When there's 40 games, I'm going to have 10, 15 games. That's just the way I'm going to play, and I'm not going to watch and worry about it. I bet it, and I tell this to people in my chat just in general. If I bet a team, I think they're going to win. Whether it's I'm laying 3, I think they're going to win by 10. If it's under 160, this game should be 52-48 or something. I don't think it's going to be close. I don't want a close game. My dogs are winning outright. My favorites are rolling. I try not to get emotional and watch something. Oh, what the hell was that? No, I'll turn on Love It or List It, Home and Garden Network, something. I gotta see if I could find some kind of shelving. I don't know. I gotta just kind of relax. I gotta work on my patience in life. Still at my, it's like that's not what I'm doing. I'm not now tournament time. Like March Madness, I'll watch a game. NFL, I'll watch a game every once in a while, but I try not to. Not this time of year. I can't. If I didn't shave my head, I would probably pull out any hair I had. I'd start pulling out my eyebrows.
I tend to watch the games I'm not betting on. So at least I get an angle on that, and then I feel so stressed out. And then especially, and sometimes you just want to leave a game. It's tempting to bet it, but you're just like, no, I'm not going to bet it. I'm going to get some information for the next time these two teams play someone else. Last point here, Moorhead State, they rebound the ball a lot better than Eastern Kentucky. And so if they are missing some shots because of the neutral site, which leans to the under, that's another reason why I lean them. But we don't have to beat we don't have to
rebound much when you're putting in 85 points a game.
That's so true.
You're not missing many shots.
What do we have next, Cal?
So we have some other requests. I don't know if you guys have any opinion on Utah Valley, Grand Canyon. I mean, I feel like we can at least touch on these games briefly. All of us could talk college hoops for a long time. I mean,
I wanted to bet this game. I actually looked at this one, and I decided not to because my number said Utah Valley, but I don't want to go against Grand Canyon at home. Grand Canyon is just such a good home team, and I always try to bet on them, but that number is massively inflated now because Utah Valley's been playing pretty good. So, like at first, I'm like Utah Valley looks like that's the side. And then I'm just looking at Grand Canyon at home. And Grand Canyon, what they do is they'll stick with the team for most of the time. And somehow in the last 4 minutes, they can't miss. And then they cover the spread that way. It's like one of those games, Sean, you don't even want to watch the whole game. You want to turn around with 2 minutes left, So, that's my opinion on it. I have no lean. If I was going to give a slight lean, to be Utah Valley.
I can't bet this game. So I'll say I have almost nothing on this game. As far as the total, I had this one at 138, and we're sitting 138.5. So I've got nothing that stands out about this one. I would want to bet Grand Canyon here, but this is a lot of points. In general, I'd rather bet Grand Canyon than I would Utah Valley. Grand Canyon's a great home team, like Kiev said, but they got to win by 10 points. That's a pretty big spread here.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say, I think Utah Valley's like 2-5 on the road, 2-6 on the road. Not particularly good, but again, if I'm getting 9, the team's got to win by 10. I'll take a flyer on the Valley with the points there. So, but again, that's just us making talk on a game somebody threw at us out in the whack.
Oh, there you go. And shout out to the state of Arizona with Grand Canyon, because just past sports betting become legalized today in the House. And Ducey with his little wheeling and dealing behind the scenes with the tribal reservations is going to be signing that one for sure. So good news for the state of Arizona. I would expect that it's probably going to be up and running by next year. So Kyle, anything else on the agenda before we get into
one more? We haven't talked about any from Travis Locasano. Sorry if I pronounced your name wrong there, but Georgia Tech and Wake Forest. I have to say, this is not the most exciting game of the day, but I mean, if we're willing to talk about Warner Pacific and Montana, we have to talk about Georgia Tech and Wake Forest, right? So Georgia Tech to me is the team that if they make it into the tournament, I want to fade this team. I think that Georgia Tech has had enough trouble closing out games that I don't trust them very much. I don't think the ACC is really very good. Really, they should have beaten Duke pretty easily the other night, and then Duke benefited from Georgia Tech's collapse late in that game. But at the same time, Wake Forest is in terrible form right now. I mean, in general, I'd want to take the points with Wake Forest here, thinking that Georgia Tech, they're laying 9 points on the road, 8.5, 9 points on the road. I guess I'll take a slight lean here to Wake Forest. I'm going to lean to the under for this game. I don't know. You guys have anything strong on the side here?
I'm going to lean hard to Georgia Tech, and you can't bet Wake Forest. What's their motivation? I guess they're at home. So I mean, what is it, senior day for them? I mean, they're really going to get up after what they've done. Looking at the roster, there's one or two seniors on there. That most of the players that play are underclassmen here. But Wake Forest has been bad, and Georgia Tech has great offense, and they have been scoring a lot. Their defense shows better than a lot of other ACC teams. And that Duke game, if you thought they gave up points that game, you should have saw their first game versus Duke. When I was on Georgia Tech both times, and I had +5, and they lost the game by 7 when they were tied with a minute left, and I was just irate, just turning over the ball and everything. But either way, Georgia Tech, I'm not so sure about the tournament. I do like Georgia Tech for the ACC tournament, though, because I got a big number on them. I think it was 16-1 or something like that. I don't even know if that number's still available anymore. Nice. I bet about a week and a half ago. I think Georgia Tech is the second best team, possibly. Well, okay, third, Florida State, Virginia, but Duke's inconsistent. We'll get to that Duke game too, by the way. Duke's inconsistent, and North Carolina's a mess. So I do like Georgia Tech to possibly in that tournament. But as far as the NCAA tournament, they are very haphazard, and they could drop one. So I agree with you there. Just anything, Sean?
Actually, earlier today, I was like, I was kind of leaning a little Wake. I'm getting, it was 9.5 points. Now it's actually down to 8.5. But I'm a little worried. The last time these guys played at home, they scored 39 points. Yeah. They scored 39 points. Game before that, they scored 46 the next game. I'm looking, are you? Yeah, maybe lean on the under here, because I don't think they're going to turn on and score 60. I mean, Tech will probably score 70 because Wake is bad. So as much as I want to take Wake, I might just have to lean on Georgia Tech and probably play the under here, because I don't see them getting the 60 points. I can't see it.
Yeah, and I can see this one being one where if you have a book that has team totals an option,
under it.
Wake Forest team total under makes sense to me here, because Wake Forest, they put up, like you said, 39 points on Clemson. We know Clemson's defense is pretty good, but they're not that good. So
39, then you scored 46 the next game. I mean, this is going back to Big East 1987 basketball, 46 points in a game, especially today's game where these guys just roll out and take 27 threes a game. I mean, that's just. Hey, yeah. Okay.
Well, this is the last game before the tournament. I'm not sure if Georgia Tech can really help their seed out or anything anyway. So not big on that. But I want to thank our viewers and listeners for not requesting Boston College versus Miami tonight.
In Miami.
I mean, out of the whole slate of games, even though this is Power 5, this has to be the worst absolute game and handicap. I mean, I don't even know if half their teams are playing against each other that started this year.
Yeah.
So I was really frightened that someone was going to request that one. So thank God that they didn't.
It's still early. We can get a message somewhere on Twitter in the chat that might come in.
Yeah, and thank you to the people who requested games and are tuning in as well. It's cool that we are getting people who are requesting some games, and I think I speak for all of us. We're willing to talk about any of these games.
Yeah.
Some of the people say we're only allowed to talk about number one versus number five. I like these under the radar games. Some of my favorite games are the small school games. So always happy to talk about those games.
You know what? I said that today. I started a live chat. I'm like, let me start a live chat up. I just started like last week, so I do it at like noon. Let's throw that out there. I'm sorry, but I was like, and a lot of the games I was doing since it's tournament time are games that people, like Ohio Valley. You have your, smaller conference, your mid majors, nobody knows about, and then every comment is for the big schools. Like, hey, who do you like? And I'm like, we'll get,
Oh, well, this one,
like,
man,
and I tell people, it's like the college football games, like the Alabama Clemson game. That line is going to be exactly where it should be. Duke, North Carolina, we're going to talk about that line. All these games are exactly. There's very little edge in any of these big school games because everybody knows those schools. Again, we were talking about WAC schools. Now, we could find an edge in a WAC school. Even if it's that big, it's an edge because there's just so many to look at. They don't have the time for those. That's why, people don't like those small conferences. I don't know why. I think that's where the bread and butters, where you're going to make your profit is in those conferences, not in betting the Big Ten when you have it's a wild one up top. I'm sorry.
Unless you're fading Minnesota on the road. Unless you're fading Minnesota.
That's true. Yeah.
Well, otherwise, Kyle, is that it for requests? Because we're kind of
that's it for requests. Yeah. Let's. So what we try to do is we try to take the request, talk about the small games, and now we talk about some of the big games. And if we find any edges in these, we'll help you as you watch these games try to make some money as well. So Kiev, let's start up the bigger games now.
Yeah, let's get right into it. Oklahoma State versus West Virginia, a Saturday game here. Projecting lines around West Virginia -5, and the total on this one is 151. West Virginia, man, they've been cashing overs like the government prints money lately, and 17-8 to the over, man. 17-8 to the over. That's huge. And the reason is because West Virginia is not playing the defense that they've been so used to. I don't even see them press that much. It's just used to be press Virginia.
Press Virginia.
And now it's offensive show Virginia with guys like Culver, McBride, and they are scoring. They're scoring a ton of points, but they're not really stopping anybody. Another reason, this is weird. They don't play extraordinary fast for what they're scoring. And the reason that is, and I look deep into this every week, they're a top 11 offensive rebound team. Yeah. So they're cleaning up so well that their offense efficiency is just boosting up, even though they're not always shooting that well. And on the other side of the ball, they're not rebounding it defensively. They're letting second chance points come in, ranking 262 on defense here. So, Oklahoma State's the better defensive team. West Virginia ranking 22nd in defensive adjusted efficiency, but they also play much faster Oklahoma State plays much faster than the Mountaineers. So number one in pace is what Oklahoma State is. I have to look to the over here. Why not keep that train rolling? I mean, all the information here is telling me to the over, and I know Oklahoma State's been a little bit more towards the under, but they played Baylor, they played bad. Both teams are off that 1 day rest, right? And when they're off the 1 day rest, they usually dog it a little bit more on the defensive side of the ball. So I have West Virginia winning 80-74. So I'm thinking the over is in a possible play here. Kyle, what are your thoughts?
Over is what I was going to say as well. So agreement here. West Virginia, like you said, so good on the offensive glass, so bad on the defensive glass. That can really change a game a lot. I've talked about this before quite a few times that I think it's underrated rebounding margin for ATS. This is something that, we realize that rebounding is important, but I don't think we realize how important it is. A lot of bettors don't understand that rebounding margin, how many offensive rebounds you get, how many defensive rebounds you give up, has a lot to do with the spread and the total. It's not just the tempo. And like Kiev said, that's what West Virginia is doing on offense this year. It's not unlike what North Carolina does a lot of years, where they're really not that good at shooting, but they get so many offensive rebound putbacks or fouls that they get to the line a lot or get those free points. West Virginia is doing the same thing, but West Virginia is much better offensively, even shooting the ball, than they have been in previous years. They have some really good shooters on the outside. McBride, McNeil's a great shooter. They've got some really good guys on the outside. Sherman's a great player in general. I think this Huggins team is pretty tough. I've not liked them in some of the past years because when they were pressed Virginia, they couldn't really score consistently. And so they had to have those games where the other team just shot really poorly. But now West Virginia can actually score. They're not great defensively. Oklahoma State's pushing the pace. I don't think West Virginia has anybody that can stop Cunningham consistently here. At the same time, I don't think Oklahoma State's going to stop West Virginia from scoring. The first game between these two was extremely high scoring. I like the over in this one.
All right, Sean.
I'm actually going to go with West Virginia minus the 5 here. I actually got this. I think this, West Virginia should be like an 8-point favorite, believe it or not, here. And I like Cam Cunningham. I think he's great. And he last I read, he kind of rolled his ankle. Maybe, I don't know if he's 100, if he's hurt or not 100%. Let's be honest. You roll your ankle in a game, that's, it could still flare up a little bit. And now you're going to play, as you guys mentioned, tempo in this kind of affair. I don't know. I think West Virginia, we see not a good win, but they grind out a win. TCU, they lost in overtime. I had them against Baylor there. West Virginia, I just think they're the better team. It's 5. I got it at 8. I'm taking West Virginia. I think they're. I took them actually to win the Big 12 just the other day too. So I think they could surprise some people.
Yeah, I mean they're bad. They're bad with a lead because of their defense, and TCU came back in, but they were never in doubt of winning that game at all. So I mean, you got to give them that. And if you watch that Baylor overtime game, that foul that they called on McBride, oh my God!
I did watch. That was a game I actually watched because I was like, I got the future on them for the Big 12, but I also have future for Baylor and a couple other teams for national championships. So I want to kind of see how they're coming out of there. They didn't play for a month or whatever, Baylor. They kind of looked a little sluggish there. But, so I actually did watch that game, believe it or not. And I did turn it off when I went to overtime because that's where your winner goes to die. That's I don't care who you bet. That game goes overtime, you're a loser.
You're a loser.
I was just going to say, Sean, I think the fact that you had West Virginia plus 4.5, something like that, right? That was the right side. It should have won.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've argued this with some people in the past. Some people think the right side is the side that wins always, and it's just not the case. Sometimes the right side loses, sometimes the wrong side wins. If you do this long enough, I think you know that. But I was going to say, I think the fact that Sean watched that game and then ended up losing West Virginia, maybe that's why you end up on home and garden TV. Is that right? maybe that's why. But I enjoy,
you know what I watch? I watch all the time. My daughter, I like Love It or List It. We watch together. Me and her. She just turned 11, so we watch it. It's nice. I don't know. We enjoy it because it's kind of like, why wouldn't you move with this nice new house? But I actually just followed the host from the show on Twitter, and I was like, the reason why you always lose to the people who stay is because people are just attached to, they don't know the memory will come with them. They're just attached to the material. That's what people are attached to, physical things, Just to get off on other TV talk, people, when you need to relax and decompress after betting a slate of games on a Saturday when there's 113 college basketball games.
From my end, usually I'm talking with the wife saying, hey, let's put the main TV on sports. I mean, if you want to watch home and garden TV, this needs to be, sideshow. This can't be the main thing. But trying to switch into HD TV to try to stay away from the stresses of it.
That was...
I think we have some agreement, though. I would lean West Virginia here if I had to take a side in this game as well.
Right.
So I think this is probably one of my favorite ones we've talked about here as a possible play here for tomorrow.
I agree. That gets down to 4.5. I'll really like that side then. So makes sense. Everything you guys said makes sense on this one. So next game, and let's let Sean start with this one. Ohio State is going to be hosting Illinois, and I'm projecting the total at 152. Ken Palm's going to have 155 here. Let's see what Sean has to say about this one first.
Yeah, I have a projected line of Ohio State probably around 4.5, 5, I think, and 145 is what I kind of came up with on this kind of number here. But even at those numbers, I'm leaning on Illinois. I'm a big Illinois backer. I got a future on them to win this whole puppy, not just the Big Ten, but the NCAAs. I like it. I just like their entire team. There's just something about them I like. And Ohio State, looking as much as I have them favored, maybe I should put more into their losses lately because they haven't been playing good as you roll down. But the 3-point shooting has been terrible for them. Are they just going to turn on against Illinois? They're home. I just can't. This Illinois team looks like you come in with a big win over Michigan. Maybe they're turning the corner because we saw bad losses. They lost to Baylor earlier, Missouri, I think. So I don't know. I just like Illinois. There's nothing else to say. I'm high on Illinois. I'm taking them as an underdog here. Give me the Illini money line. I think Ohio State. I was on them when they were peaking, kind of like, yeah, they look pretty good, and then all of a sudden you're losing to Michigan State. I just can't back them here, even though I think they're going to be favored. My number wise, I'm going against those and taking a dog.
Well, Kyle's betting his house on Ohio State this game. So, what do you have to say about this one, bud?
No, I mean, so if anybody knows me, I'm a massive Buckeyes fan. At the same time, I remember it was a couple weeks ago, Kiev, that I said I thought Ohio State was overrated here in college basketball. I don't think this team is as good as some people think. When they were rated number 4 and talked about as a number 1 seed, they would have been one of the weaker 1 seeds I've ever seen. Ohio State is a good team. They're well coached. Holtman's a really good coach. They don't have the same kind of talent that teams like Illinois and Michigan have. I don't think Ohio State has the really high upside. I wouldn't want to have them as a future in the NCAA tournament or anything like that. In this game, I think that Ohio State will be favored by maybe 1.5 points, something like that. And, I couldn't bet Ohio State. I don't trust them. I guess we assume that Dosunmu probably won't play in this game again. If he plays, it makes a difference, obviously. But they played really well without him. They won at Wisconsin. Wisconsin hasn't played very well lately either. And obviously that win at Michigan, was really impressive. I don't think anybody saw that performance coming. But Illinois is a team that I'm pretty high on. I think Illinois, if they get healthy, Dosunmu healthy, they could really make some noise. They got a future on them to make the Final Four. This is a Illinois team that has a very high upside. They're very talented. So lean Illinois here against my Buckeyes.
Well, Andre Corbello's really been stepping up for Io DeSumo's miss. And it's like, God, imagine if he was playing consistent with Io this whole year. I'm bitter against Illinois because I had them 120-1 last year to win the NCAA tournament, and it got canceled. That was the ticket. I was like, I was sticking on my wall. Take a couple pictures. It was just like one of those that was like almost for sure, and it was a loss when they had to pay that back. It was really tough, and it sucked because it's rare when you're going to get a 120-1 that's going to be a 1 or a 2 seed, in the tournament, and that's what they were going to be last year. So in saying this game is going to depend on what happens with Indiana versus Purdue completely. Because if Purdue drops to Indiana, Ohio State wins, they move into the 4 seed and the double bye. Okay. And that's huge. I think getting a double bye in the Big Ten is huge. And I think that's the motivation that Ohio State needs to take them over the edge here. But I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think that Io is going to play at all. Why would you play the dude that just broke his nose of 10 days ago, 9 days ago, whatever it was, when you have another week until you have to show up at the Big Ten tournament? There's absolutely no reason to play Dosunmu here. Why would you risk that? You need him for the NCAA tournament and the Big Ten tournament. You're going to give him another week just by not letting him play this game. So he's got to go up. But because of this and Illinois' success, they can't really hurt their seed. I like the under a lot in this game. And I think, especially if Purdue happens to lose to Indiana, I think Ohio State really finally steps up their defense. When the team's on a losing streak, as Kyle predicted, they step up their defense. They do, because that's the first way that they can win without having to worry about hitting shots. You step up your defense. That's something you can control a lot more than your shots sometimes. Shots go in, shots don't. So I see that happening. But I'll tell you right now, this handicap is for Ohio State's not going to start as much for me until that end of that Purdue game. And you can't tell me the kids are not going to know the final of that score. They're going to find out if Purdue lost that game. And so just looking at the standings here, that's how I calculated it, Kyle. And I'll play Ohio State, and I'll play it all the way up to -2.5, at least, maybe even 3. And I think this is a spot for Illinois not to be that motivated. So that's my thoughts. Any rebuttal?
I'm not going to bet this game personally. I just think Illinois is a good team to have a future on, a team that could be a bet on here in the NCAA tournament, maybe even the Big Ten tournament. But I'm going to pass on this game.
Listen, you bring up the great point about him sitting out is 100% spot on. Why rush him back? You're absolutely right about that. And as much as I like Illinois, in this point wise, I'll take him with the points, but am I going to, will I personally play him or put him out as a premium? I don't, you brought up good points there. So you might have talked me back off my own way. As Kyle said, it's future wise. Hey, listen, I'm not set in my ways. You can't if you're betting games, guys, and you think you like something and you hear other kind of opinions, you kind of respect them and something you weren't thinking about, take them into play, weigh them down with your thoughts, make your pro and con list while you're doing something, so
absolutely.
You brought up good points. You talked me right back off of Illinois. As much as I loved them, I think, you know what, you could take care of business. The other team has a little more to play for right now, and we're getting ready we got bigger goals than just winning at Ohio State.
Right. Illinois does not need this game. And Ohio State needs something here to get off that losing streak to enter the Big Ten tournament. So there you go. Now let's go to the worst teams in the world. Duke
yes,
versus North Carolina. And if there's anything I can do to make North Carolina miss the tournament as well, you let me know, because I don't think this has happened since like the early 80s or the 1970s, where both of these teams were out of the tournament. I don't think Duke's going to make it, guys. I don't even know if a win here is good enough, minus if they somehow hell freezes over and they win the ACC tournament here. Both of these teams, major flaws. North Carolina is pretty much all red on all offensive categories. Yeah, all red, right? Up and down, offensive categories. What they do is they haphazardly throw the ball up at the rim, just throw it up there. And then their 7-footers just sit there and charge to the rim to clean up to get the high percentage shot. That's their game. That's literally North Carolina right there, right? And that's why they rank 265th in effective field goal percentage and number 1 in the nation in offensive rebounds. So that's North Carolina. Really ugly basketball. Duke, on the other hand, they're not great at anything or really that good at anything. They turn the ball over more than normal. They can't shoot free throws. They can't block shots. They rank 101st in defensive efficiency. At least North Carolina does rank 21st in defensive efficiency. I mean, if you're that tall, I don't know how you can't rank that high. But if I'm Duke, I play a tight pack line defense. I mean, because why would you be afraid of North Carolina shooting over you? From 8 feet away, from 15 feet away. You force that, and you just got to get the rebound, right? And if I'm Duke, I shoot the 3 ball. Because at least that way you get longer rebounds against a tall North Carolina team. That's how I would play. I don't know if they're going to play this because Krzyzewski's looking just as bad as his team here. If I'm North Carolina, I do the same crap I've been doing. Just throw the ball haphazardly because that's all you got. I mean, you had a whole year to figure out how to play basketball. Do the dribble drive. Just drive to the rim. Do what you can. Force the whistles in the ACC, which we know there's plenty of, and try to beat Duke that way because, Duke – they're going to try to get through some ball screens here. I don't have a prediction in this game. It's so ugly to me, guys. I think I have it like 77-75. All right. So I think the totals maybe like 149, very slight lean to the over, but I don't want to take it. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll go here. Over is my lean in this game. I'm not betting a side in this one. I don't know that I'll bet the over either, but that's my lean here. Both teams are going to get a lot of offensive rebounds. There's going to be a lot of fouls here, a lot of free throw shooting. The first game went way over the total. Both teams shot better than you would expect in that game, so maybe it won't be that high. But the total is going to be set a lot lower. I think we might have lost some viewers. With Kiev, you don't seem like you're a big fan of Duke or North Carolina.
I can guarantee Duke fans aren't Duke fans this year. They changed their hat to the Lakers. They turned it around and there's a big Laker logo.
No, I mean, I don't think any of us are huge Duke or North Carolina fans, but we respect the fact that they've been really good programs many years. This year, they're not very good, and you hate to see a team make it in just based on their name. So I'd rather a team that deserves to be in the NCAA tournament be in the NCAA tournament. I don't think Duke. The other night when they were close to beating Georgia Tech, people saying, "Oh, they might be playing onto the bubble." And I'm thinking, "Wow, really? I mean, do we have to do this?" But I don't think that this game has the normal lead up that it would because neither team is really that good. North Carolina is going to push the pace. Both teams get a lot of offensive rebounds. Over is the only way I could play this one.
Yeah, Sean?
I would actually lean with North Carolina here. I mean, I don't think Duke is getting in a tournament with their 11 wins. Even if they win here 12, what do they got? Maybe 13 wins on a year. They can't get it. If that's just a disgrace to some mid-major who actually played 20-something games and doesn't get in. That's, or has 20 wins, I should say.
Right.
But on the flip side, I think, North Carolina, they're 15-9. They win here 16. They could get to 17 wins. They're getting in the tournament.
I think
they're getting. So, yeah, they're going to get in just because they're North Carolina. And they have a little slightly better record than, some of the other blue blood type teams. So I'll lay the 3.5 here. As you mentioned, the rebounding. Coach K, listen, when this started back up, even NBA wise, you were going to say what coaches can coach and which coaches just rely on players. And, Coach K obviously just relied on some talented guy to take over, and you have a bunch of kids, 12,000 kids on top of other 19-year-olds yelling, and teams would be like, oh, this is a tough place to play. That was a huge built-in edge, whether people want to admit that or not. And that's just not for Duke. That's for any kind of school, So, yeah, Coach K, terrible job. I'm shocked he didn't quit midseason, with this team when they started losing games, right? There was talk about it like, oh, this is terrible. No, they've mailed it in. I don't see much out of them. I'll take North Carolina here if you're looking for a side. So we got North. Right. You guys like the over? I'll say NC, and
I do have them winning. I mean, I do have them winning at least by 2. So
yeah, it should be like around 3-ish. I guess I got at 3. Yeah, I figured that's what it'd be at because Duke's going to just get a little respect because they're Duke. I guess they're expecting them to turn on and run through the ACC tournament and win it or some nonsense.
All right. Well, hey, we're almost out of time here, but I do want to quick mention the Villanova versus Providence game. And Providence should be about a 4-point dog here. And it's, Ken Pom says 6, total 140, but the elephant in the room here is Colin Gillespie in his MCL tear that happened, which is just terrible that this happened. Now, everyone, thinks that that's a time to bet Providence, but usually when this happens, the team rallies, they shoot a little bit out of their minds. They're, it's a function, it's human nature almost. And people don't see that sometimes. People say, okay, we got to fade this team, their best players out. No, wait till like the second or third game to do that. Don't do that right away, because I can see Villanova kind of playing out of your minds. The thing that kind of makes me hold on to this one is Villanova has not been that good of a road team this year at all. And so they are on the road here. And Ed Cooley, coach of Providence, he's been a really good February guy or March guy. He's always finished his years good, and he hasn't been that good the last couple games. But probably one I'm not going to get involved in. But if this overreaction gets past 3 and it gets down to 2.5, then I'm going to have to bet Villanova. But just want to quick mention that. Any quick thoughts, guys?
Yeah, I think if it's at 4, you have to pass in this game. I can't lay 4 points with Villanova without Gillespie. I like Jay Wright a lot. I think he's a really good coach. The Villanova program has been really impressive. Gillespie means a lot to this team. He does a lot, not just scoring wise. Obviously, he's a great passer, good defender. He means a lot to this team, and it was really deflating to be at the end of that game. You saw how much everybody was upset that he was going to be out. Providence is a team that I'd rather bet on at the end of the season. Like you have said, Ed Cooley's been a good March coach. At the end of the year, his teams seem to show up, especially for that tournament. You get in that Big East tournament, Providence makes some noise in that tournament. I wouldn't be surprised if they do it again. If it's 4, I think I lean Providence here. We'll see how much of a reaction there is to the Gillespie.
All right.
I actually got Providence. I got this I think at a pick 'em. That's, and that's what Providence dropping 2 or 3. But as Kev said, bad on the road. 3 losses just last month. 12 at Butler, 16 Creighton, 11 at St. John's, and you lose your best player. I'm all for next man up and stuff. You got, let's rally around the injury, this and that. But you're losing by double digits on the road, and now I'm going to have a nice home team, as a home dog with something to prove. Let's go. I'm taking the points here with Providence, and I'll probably sprinkle some money line if I get 3.5, 4. Absolutely.
Yeah, Providence is going to be a little desperate here, sure. And, they can still circle the Villanova as a win, right?
Don't you guys think, too, that when this line comes out, the public's going to love to bet Providence here. So if you like Providence, you want to bet Providence early, because if you do get something like +4 or 4.5, I assume this line's going to move in the favor of Providence because everybody's going to know about that injury. It was a big enough name injury. This is not under the radar. So
yeah, but people, Kyle, you know as well I do. People see that top 10 ranking and that number in front, like, wow, they only got to win by a couple points on the road.
They be some of those, I guess.
Yeah, and the average person looks at those things, and that's humongous to average people. Where I look at that and be like, no way, that's way too low. I'm not going to bring up examples. We've seen games like that all the time where some ranked teams getting points are like, wrong team favored, dog outright,
I still like the idea of bet Providence early though, because yeah, maybe it doesn't move as much because the public will make a stand again because they see Villanova, but the public has not been making a ton of adjustments here. It's been a lot of the bettors really early, and I'd say you can set yourself up for a little bit of middle. Go half on the way back, maybe, and you still a winner. Maybe. It's always fun to double up. So
you could end up with a +4 and a -1.5 or something like that. So I think that's something that's at least possible.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we really had to rush to this, so no most likely dogs to win outright. So I'm just going to say in about a half an hour here, Dayton's going to win and they're going to beat VCU. So I think they're a +4.5 point dog here, +3, something like 3.5 to 4. So it's all over the 3.5 to 4.5. So I'm just going to quick throw that one out. I like Dayton. I'm doing a little money line rollover action on them to see how far they get. So that's my thoughts, guys. Where can our listeners find your information, Sean, so they could obviously get your insights?
If we're looking for a dog to win outright, I'll throw out Kent +5 or 5.5 there against Buffalo. That'll be my doggy outright for everybody. And I'm at winandfreepicks.com. Come say hello. A lot of free picks. Like I said, I do a daily video every day now. I start getting into because it's March Madness, and then I got baseball every day. So, listen, I'm not the killer total like Kyle is on basketball totals, but he's Mr. Total. I love him. And thanks for having me on, and thanks for Kyle reaching out. I appreciate it. And maybe I'll come back. We'll talk another time whenever. I enjoyed it. I can do this all day long. I love chatting with everybody. It's great.
Oh, me too. Kyle?
Quick free pick here for tomorrow. I'm going to take Wagner against St. Mary's, Mount St. Mary's. This is way under the radar, so you guys know this is the type of game I love. I assume Wagner's going to be laying something like 4 or 4.5 points. If it's bigger than that, I'm going to probably pass. But Mount St. Mary's has had a COVID pause here. Wagner is better than them to start with. I already beat them twice. I'm not going to do the whole, I tweeted about this. It's hard to beat the same team 3 times. I get tired of hearing that. If you're better than that team, obviously, if you're equal teams, it could be hard to beat them a third time. But if you're better than that team, you've already shown it. I think Wagner's the better team here. They're better on offense and defense. So I'll lay the points with Wagner on Saturday.
Wagner. All right, good stuff, man. I'll be looking at that one. Thank you, Kyle. And as far as us, check us out. The Odds Breakers always have free picks for you there. If you like what you hear from us, you can always become a free subscriber or a premium subscriber, guys. Well, that's all we have for today. Thank you, Sean, for coming on, man. I had a blast with you, and you're dang right we're going to ask you to come back. Kyle, good seeing you. Thank you all for listening to this podcast. If you guys have any other questions, our Twitter handles at the Odds Breakers, at Kyle Hunter Picks, and at the Real Higgs, right?
Yeah, real underscore. I got the underscore. I couldn't get the other.
Okay. Real underscore. Everyone, take care.
Take it easy.